Guru Kripa Kevalam. Namaste and welcome everyone to Satsang today. Sadguru Shri Muji Baba ki Jai. We don't see any hands, so maybe I can invite someone. Let's hear from Elena, if that's okay. Is it good? Is it good for you to come up?
Yes. 1 second.
Yes.
Because I also have so am I still audible?
Yes, my dear, you are.
I usually have as well laptop as telephone. So, can you hear me?
I can hear you well.
Okay, great. I'm a bit of a shock. Yes.
Don't worry, just feel at home. And if something rises for you to say, just say it. It's okay. And what's the worst? What's the worst that can happen?
David, ik ben even aan het praten met Ananta. He invited me. That's my son is next to me. He's a bit ill today. Hi.
Hi. What happened? Do you have a cold?
Yes, a little bit. Yeah. Yeah.
All
A bit of a...
Get
Sorry.
well. I was saying all my love and blessings for you to get well soon, my dear.
Thank you.
Happy you don't have to go to school?
Moet je niet naar school vandaag? No.
Not happy or happy?
Ben je blij dat je thuis kon blijven? Are you happy to stay home? Thank you. He had a bit of a severe cold, so it will pass soon. So yeah, I'm very blessed that you call me, actually, because a lot of things are going on. I was looking to this series that you talk about, Chosen, and it brings up a lot. And yes, about the life of Jesus of Nazareth.
Yes, Chosen.
Yeah, beautiful. Yes, so it brings up a lot, and because I hear his words now different from I used to hear them, because I know of your teachings as well, and that's really beautiful. I can much better hear what he is saying.
Very.
Yes.
So what are you dealing with? What is coming up?
Well, I had this this thing with being humble, which I'm not very good at.
No, you seem very humble to me.
Well, I always think of myself as pride and arrogant, and so I had this event that I was leading, and for my feeling, it went no good in front of a lot of people. So that was really, I was really humbled by that. And then
but
it's
others also tell you that, or that was just
no.
judgment about?
No. It was my own experience, and so a lot of things come back of what you've said, like you're not suffering. What was it? You're suffering your experience, and what was it? Experiencing suffering. That one that you say, and yeah, and like spiritual knowledge is the first to go. So I really tried to stay and to step out of it again and again. And yeah, so like that. But yeah, I'm very happy that you pointed me to that series. It was really
Very good. Very good.
Yes. Thank you.
One another tip is that reality, God, self, being, whatever word you want to use, is pure innocence, is pure simplicity. The minute we catch ourselves making things a bit complicated, know that we are getting stuck in the wrong planet, the planet of the head, as I've been calling it. So, just in returning to the pure innocence of the heart, all true knowledge is with us. This is the beauty of this. The mind tells us that we have to be complex, we have to understand many things, and then we will be better, do better. Yeah? But in actuality, it's only being empty of all of that. And then when you're empty of all of that, then there's nothing that can be chopped away as well. Nothing can be chopped away because you're not putting up any sort of elevation that can be attacked. So we approach every moment in our life in God's hand, and we don't construct any element of me. Then really, unless we have those sort of defenses, it is impossible to be attacked. So it's very good also that if those defenses are there, it's good that they do get attacked. Otherwise, we would hold on to them for a long time. It's very good that they do get attacked, because the real is never attacked. It's only the unreal. Nothing real can be threatened. So it's very, very good. It's very, very good. And whatever life experiences we have, if they bring us back to ground zero, then they've been very auspicious and useful, as much as we may wish sometimes that they would not have happened. But it's helpful actually in reality that they do, because there is no room for us to hold on to anything about ourselves anymore.
I feel like I know that is mind, but when I see you or when I see Jesus, I feel impossible to ever be able to live like that, because there is still this blah, 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 blah. But
actually, if you look at an entire life, you see, I may look at the life of a sage, I may look at the life of Jesus, which is an embodiment of pure being itself, so even beyond what we may call a sage. And if I was to also look at the entirety of their life, it is impossible to follow you. Who can do that stuff? Who can do this stuff? It's impossible to follow. But the trick is that in this moment, it is possible to follow.
yes.
So in the entirety, it isn't. And we must not even endeavor to do that, because our specialness somewhere can take a hold of that as well, that I want to be just like that. You see? But what is the way to follow? It is truly not possible to follow even a doctrine or even the words of a master. You see, we can only follow moment to moment. And what to do moment to moment? Remain empty of individual will, you see, and individual desire. And when we are empty of individual will and desire, then that is to live in God's will. So here there is no comparison also, but that is the way to live in some sense, not to take an entire life and pressurize ourselves and say, but look at that. That's too intimidating for us. But if we just say, what about now? What about right now? It is in the right now that the emulation is possible. In every moment, what is the maximum trouble you have to deal with? In any moment. And if some of you are listening on Wednesday also, we clarified that there is never trouble through perception. And if we can all see that today, I feel like it will be very helpful, because we may feel like trouble is coming from the world, from the realm of perception, whether we call it energetic, we call it family, we call it friends, we call it partner, we call it whatever we may call it. But really, if you were to break down the mechanics of suffering, what can cause us trouble right now? Yes, or even something that you don't perceive, even independent of perception. When you buy into a thought, what happens? Can we do that right to start with? And I realize some of you may be new, but this is quite simple and helpful for everyone. Let's experiment with, okay, let's experiment by starting fully empty. Just be fresh and empty right now. Simple. You're just being. God's presence, God's light is naturally here. Don't have to think about anything. Just like that. Yes or no? Now, play with your attention as much as you like. Send it wherever you like. Perceive whatever you like. Tell me if something changes for you. Just with your attention. Whatever it may be, whichever realm of your existence you may traverse through your attention, be it the seeming outer world, be it the seeming inner world, just with attention. Try to trouble yourself. Pure attention. Pure attention being uncontaminated by a narrative or a belief in a thought. This is astounding, isn't it? It may sound very simple, but it's astounding. That means the world has never troubled us. The world and all its objects and things in it and events that happen has never troubled us. Can we confirm this? And the world includes our body, that which we call my body. We remain untroubled no matter what attention may be on, because whatever the content of attention may be, it cannot attack you in reality. Maximum you can do with an object or a sensation is to perceive it. What else can you do with it? Anything may dance. Anything may dance in front of you, the most sublime, beautiful thing, or the of Kali herself just destroying everything in your perception. But is it really about that? When you involve yourself in a narrative, then it seems like it is about that. But uninvolved from the narrative, no perception can actually make a dent on your being, forget about a dent on your awareness. So, now what additional step is needed for you to be troubled? If perception itself is not enough. Do we all agree that perception is not enough for suffering? Anyone who doesn't agree? The way I'm framing it, of course, you make it very difficult for you to say the opposite. But okay. So all of us seem to be in concurrence that whatever perception, sensation may appear in front of us, it itself inherently does not have any power over us. Then what do we need to do? Okay, so what we should do before that is that all of us have an idea about what is troubling us. You see, in the world, in our family, at our work, at our sangha, in whatever it may be. You see? So you cannot agree with both things. You cannot nod when I say, can something in the world trouble us? You say no. And then you hold on to the notion that, oh, but this one troubles me, or this situation, or the state of the country, or the world, or something, whatever it may be. So can we all admit today collectively that it's not possible? Or let's talk more about it. Because there's no point having this conversation, but then you come back to it later and say, yeah, it's all fine, in satsang, but in the real world, we have to deal with real things, which is all false. Have we ever been troubled by another? Just in the perception of another. Okay, so then if another cannot, but I can for myself, how can I do that? I as consciousness then can play this game of being troubled. How do I do that? Yeah. Identify with the thought. And how to identify? So the attention can be given to a thought, belief can be given. Can we look and see what happens when we give belief to a thought? Really zoom in on that today. Okay? And don't distract yourself with anything else. Let this be the project for the moment. In the space between thoughts, you're fine. You're not troubled by a thought, you're fine. Then what happens? When you give attention to a thought, what happens? Let's start with that. So a thought is coming, you're giving attention to it. So what happens? And look from your own experience, not what you heard in satsang. Wait for the next thought to come and tell me. Because if you really slow it down like this, you will become free from the clutches of suffering. From the mind which wants you to rush. So you have to really slow down. Meet every thought as it comes. Now you just are. Your being just is. You're untroubled. Now a thought arises in your attention. So what? So what if the thought arises in your attention? What has changed? Your attention may have seemed more broad, universal, and suddenly it seems more confined. Suddenly it seems a bit more confined. But so what? If attention is confined, suppose it was confined to a little dot, to a little dot in front of you, that's all, your attention was fixated on that. So what? So whether universal or confined, only with attention, what happened? Can we all confirm then that nothing happened? Are we going too far? Because now we have transcended the world already. Now we are transcending even attention to thought. Is this true like this, that all of you are confirming, or you're just humoring me? Or you're subtly buying an idea that, yes, we know it's true, but still it's difficult, easier said than done. That is something I've heard for 12 years. It's easier said than done. Maybe it's easier done than said. Have you tried? It's the easiest to be done. This is actually nothing about doing.
What happened? I was so sorry. So when I was focused on that thought,
Even if you're fixated, your attention is fixated on the thought, what happens?
no. What happened is suddenly started relaxing. So
So that's what I'm saying. So why relaxation or contraction.
That's
So,
my attention.
yeah, attention. Yes. But in the duality of expansion and contraction, relaxation and contraction, what happened to you? And we're talking about the duality of experience, not yet labeled. We've not labeled it yet as expansion or contraction because inherently we may believe expansion is better and contraction is worse. And there may be another set of yogis who are saying the attention is too broad, they need to make it one-pointed. At a single thing, if you make it one-pointed, then you free. So those interpretations are conceptual. But just inherently in the play of attention being broad or limited, what happens? So now, what have we done? We've seen that nothing in the world has troubled us. Even in the perception of thought, we are not troubled. So now we're really zooming in on the false identity. Now, what happens? What is that step? That one step which goes from pure I amness, pure beingness, pretending or seeming as if it is I am something. That is the step to trouble. Any other way to make I am into I am something? Any other way in the world other than belief? Other than belief, other than first attention and then belief. Any other way? So if this is true that there is no other way, and Bhagavan has told us that till it is just I am, it's all good. And we'll talk about how good it is in a moment. But the minute it becomes I am something or somebody, that is where the trouble starts. And the only way to take yourself to be somebody is to give belief to a attended thought. The thought that you've given attention to. To control attention seems difficult. To not give belief is easier. So if you were to zero down on this, then what? The mind will try every trick in the book to convince you that it is anything other than this. Anything other than this, because it doesn't want to be in the spotlight in this way. It wants its false creation, which is like a silhouette of an entity, the ego, to be in the spotlight always. Oh, what about me? What's in it for me? I am being misunderstood. I am being judged. It's true for me, not true for me. What do I feel for this? All of these are also things that I hear spiritual people say, apparently spiritual people say. But then the fixation is again about the non-existent me. So what is that key that you have to unlock to suffer? No, it's a very primal power that you have as consciousness. It is not thought chasing thought. So with a thought, you perceive it with attention. But is that all you do with it? Yeah. With the thought, you perceive it. Of course, you don't perceive anything without attention. So you perceive a thought, and then just in that perception, which I call pure perception, or open and empty, what happened? And when I say what happened is, did it seem like you lost yourself, your true self? Can we see that independent of belief in a thought, our true self, our true nature both Nirguna and Saguna, both as pure awareness and as manifest beingness, is apparent to us. He's saying a lot of big things, okay? So stop me where it's not clear. Empty of belief in a thought, our true self nature is apparent to us. Yes or no? Kind of sort of. Right now, not relying on conceptual knowledge. Are you confused about who you are? Of course, if you go to the mind and say, okay, right now, what do I actually know? It's not about that category at all. It's not about that category at all. So I'm glad we're speaking like this very, very subtly today. Now, many of us, when we ask, is self-knowledge apparent to you? You may look to your mind and say, do I know myself? Of course, you can't know yourself there. You see? There's another aspect of you where you cannot not know yourself. How to access that aspect is don't access the false. That is the only coming to the truth. Otherwise, what would it be like? What would our life be like? I'm saying these words. If you didn't know yourself intuitively without perceiving yourself, then you'd be sitting and wondering who is listening to all of this? Who's aware of the perception of sound? Is it? But you don't do that. If it is true that you do not know yourself, you see, you should be constantly wondering what's happening, who's hearing this stuff. Is it? But you're not confused about that. It is apparent to you that there is an I that is aware of perception, apparent to you intuitively, and you're comfortable with that. But what happens is what the mind is proposing to you about who you are is so different from that. You see? And we buy into, and we've got used to buying into our mind notions about who we are, that it can seem absurd what you already intuitively always know. That's a good sequence of words. Already, intuitively, always. Is it? That can cut out the whole spiritual journey. Isn't it? I already know. How do I know intuitively? Do I come to it or is it always there? Always there. So you already intuitively always know. But we have been conditioned by the world which is operating under the play of the mind to rely on its uh, proposals as true knowledge. And we are short-circuiting all of that now by really zeroing in and saying, so what really happened? And we have found that with just perception, nothing is really happening, including just perception of thought. So when we say you trouble me or the world troubled me or this happened to me, that happened to me, all of that is just proposal from the mind because this me that is troubled is not the one that is aware of the hearing of these words right now. Is not that one. So what has happened is because in Satsang, we often say these words. You see? We've already also heard them so often, we think we already know a lot of this. So it gets neglected when it is being said. What I've said is actually atomic, because what I'm saying is without any effort, without needing to do anything at all, that which all of us as spiritual seekers are looking for, as true spiritual seekers are looking for, that is already apparent to us, just not in the way we think. So are we all meeting here at this point? Where we have identified the true culprit, the true troublemaker, or no? That is the question. Or are you still thinking, oh, it's my work, it's my money, it's my relationships, it's my lack of spiritual progress? Zero in on the true culprit. You see? It is not even the perception of your thought, but just your ability to give it truth value, which is called belief. Your ability as consciousness to give it truth value enables consciousness to play as if it is I am somebody. Your I amness plays as if it is I am something or somebody. And the minute you buy into that somebodyness, then you're bound to fail. But the design of the somebodyness or the lawyer for the somebodyness is that it is going to try its very best to try and make it succeed. And you will fight with everything that you think you've got till you really are forced to give up on it. So rather than go through all that cycle, listen to what I'm telling you and let go. Because eventually you have to. Either you hear me now or you wait for life to squeeze it out of you. So in one of the metaphors I use, I'm talking about how the battle is for time. Because the mind will say tomorrow, 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 truth can wait. I already know anyway what it is, but to live from there, to live in God's life, in wait, let me be worldly today. This is the trick of the mind. What does it want? In the same way that I'm saying, this moment, this moment, this moment, this moment, this moment. In the same way it's saying, just one. Just believe one. Bye. It's not offering you too much. This idea, this is true. Believe it. What happens? Can we take 2 minutes and just explore for ourselves what happens empty of belief, and then when we do believe, what happens? And the challenge is, okay, the game is that all of you, it is apparent to you that your unbounded, pure beingness and your that which is aware even of that, this is apparent to you. Try to keep it apparent even as you believe a thought. And you can try the most harmless thoughts. The coconut is green, the tea is hot. Don't seem like they're egotistical, so harmless. But see what happens. Are we doing this or no?
Yes.
My specs. Now you tell me, if you heard this, how is it not possible to live like the master? Now you've destroyed all distinction between yourself and the sage. Your mind will offer you things like, yes, it's okay now, but what about later? Same thing, let it go. That's all. It will say it's easier in Satsang, it's easier when you're there. All these things we've heard many times. Just let them go. I'm going to paraphrase a story from the Yoga Vashisht, in which there's a 100-handed monster, 100-handed monster, who's actually living in a peaceful forest. But he is constantly troubled. Why is he troubled? Because in every one of his hands he has a different weapon. And who is he attacking with that weapon? Himself. The forest by itself is peaceful. He's got all the weapons. But with those weapons, he's only attacking himself. Then what happens is one day, he meets a sage. The sage asks him a question because he goes very troubled to the sage and says, please help me. I'm so troubled by all of these things. The world is troubling me. All of this is happening to me. So the sage, in his compassion, says to him, but who are you? So in one variation of the story, or one timeline of the story, this one, the monster gets very upset. Says, I'm asking you for help, and you're asking me pointless questions. My trouble is with those things in the world. You see? You're talking to me about who I am. There's no time right now for this because I have all those weapons are what? Money issues, relationship issues. You see, what are the weapons? Same thing. No? He's saying, you're not helping me with any of that. What is the point coming to you? And you are attacking me even further by asking me these pointless questions. But in another timeline, what happens is that the monster takes the question to heart. And then all the hands start falling away. All the hands start falling away. And he leads a life of peace. And actually, in many ways, this is exactly the story of the Garden of Eden. This is different characters. And maybe with not such a happy end, but it's a metaphor about our life. And I'm not saying it was just metaphoric, but the usage for us today is that it is a metaphor for our life. We may choose to go with our learned knowledge or our own terms about what is good, what is bad, what is right for us, what is wrong for us. Or we may choose to live in guidance to God's light and God's will. Same thing. So the 1,000 hands or the 100 hands of the monster are the learned knowledge about things, about ourselves. The way to peace is to be open and empty. So if at all you've heard anything, the highlight of what I'm saying really is that the only trouble ever in our life is not even the arising of the mind, but it is acceptance of its narrative. We have to work really hard to suffer it. Because the world can't do it, even the arising of the thoughts can't do it. We have to sit, we have to identify, and then we can trouble ourselves. And I'm not saying at all, take my word for it, you must experiment with this. You see, experiment with your attention. It's safer, of course, to play with belief when you're in satsang. I won't say do a lot of that outside as well. There is no distinction between being open and empty, or living in God's light, or being obedient to God's will. It's all the same thing. There's different guidance based on your temperament and based on what is flowing at the moment. If there was a gift possible that could show you right now that you're beyond this entire universe and you're untouched by it, you're greater than the greatest. If such a gift was possible right now, that every play in this apparent realm would become meaningless. And meaningless does not mean empty of joy, which is meaningless means empty of conceptual meaning. Then what would you do to get that gift? If such a gift was possible. If I said to you, I have it in that side of the house, but then you have to give me everything that you got to get such a gift, but you will be beyond imaginable. So for those who follow me, then you would say, yes, I will. Now I'm telling you that it is already what you are. Truly and in every way, it is already what you are. And the only way that it can seem like we lost this gift is through identification with a thought. Then what is your next move? How is it that when I say absolute or when I say God, we can still say, but what about? How is it possible? There must be something there, like a lack of faith, something there. It makes it feel like an exchange for something trivial in relation to what is being pointed to. Seemed like a fair exchange. See, what I mean by that is that when the mind offers you a proposition, it is going to be about something trivial and worldly. But I am telling you that empty of that, you are in the light of God itself. How is that even a deal like that we would evaluate? It's absurd, isn't it? So what makes it not absurd? So So there's something which happens in this Maya, no? It makes it seem like the unreal seems to be comparable to the real. And that which is meager and full of time seems to be comparable to the timeless. And that is our conditioning. That is our previously nurtured beliefs, which then form the instruction manual for your mind to produce the next thought. Because it's also not wasting its ammunition. It's not wasting its ammunition, it's going to design very intricately the content of your thought so that it lures you in. So how to be free from that conditioning is just this. Now, open, empty, empty. Live in God's light. Don't confuse yourself for the faults. All the pointings and more. You have more than enough pointing. All of you have more than enough, more than what you need. You just have to follow. You have to follow something. And if you can follow what I've said today, that is very, very direct. It's very, very direct. Because you've zeroed in on the troublemaker. And the only way in which it caused trouble. And the trouble is not just like I have some worldly trouble and it'll go away. The trouble is to take on a false identity. And we take on a false identity and then we say, I want to look for the true self. And that's what the strange animal called the seeker looks like. First take on a false identity and then say, I'm really only what I want in my life is to find my true self. Is the absurd characteristic of a spiritual seeker. It's all part of this game. And it's time to snap out of it now. But if you keep filling your mind, say, I want to be right about these things also, and I want God also, not going to happen. You cannot have God and me. That is the only way you will get tempted by the thought, isn't it? If it is of no value to you, it might as well be talking about giraffes and mongooses. But when it comes to you, does it come like that? It comes very well designed to pull you in. But remember what you're trading away. In that moment of false knowledge pretending to be true knowledge, and for that moment of being right, what have you given up? What have you traded away? We have said not you to God and said yes to me. It's not as obvious as I'm saying it, but that's fundamentally what it is. God's here. You're actually fine. Is it? You're actually fine. But in that need to be right, or in the need to know something, you actually turned away from the no mind, your presence of God. And under the throes of a thought, as Advaita as you may be, and as much experience you may have in spirituality, you cannot be under the hypnosis of a thought and keep self-knowledge apparent to you. Nobody can do it. This is very, very important. You may have had the highest spiritual experiences, you may have seen through this entire game, you may have spent your whole life in the unborn. But in that moment, when you're under the hypnosis of a thought, just like anyone else who has not had a single experience of God. And in that moment of needing to be right, that is what we are doing to ourselves. And thankfully, through God's grace, it only happens for a moment. But even a moment spent away from God is not worth it. And I have to say that for most of the world, it doesn't happen for the moment, because once we take a wrong bet, we'll try and bet everything to try and make that wrong bet right. So that is the two punch of the mind. We will say, yes, yes, I know the truth. I have pure awareness, but I have to say, no, you don't. How many times have we said like that? Huh? Yes, yes, I know in reality nothing has happened to me, but I really have to say that. Yeah. Well, you don't really have to. What are you actually saying then? You're saying that your reality is untouched, but you also want to give reality to the non-existent one. And that is the power of the seeming, that as you give reality to the non-existent one, the real seems to get obscured. And that's why we have satsang. If it is not true that the real seems to get obscured, if the Maya did not have that potency, if the Leela did not have that possibility, then why do we need satsang? Then the whole world is playing that. So stop giving into conceptual mental temptation in this way, because you cannot juggle both God and me. And how the me wants that is to for God to be in service to you. Very convenient genie that we have, that we can invoke anytime we are in some trouble. How about we, whatever we take ourselves to be, how about we make that in service to God instead? That is the feeling with which I have been asking all of you this question. Whatever is occupying you right now, internally, doesn't matter what's happening outside. Whatever is occupying you inwardly, who is it about? Who is it about? And if it is true what we say, that we are spiritual, we really want God, and our life is surrendered to God or the Master, then how is it that most of the time we are just occupied by me? What kind of surrender would that be? Most of the time we're still going me, me, me. What about me? What I feel, I think, I want, I don't want. How many of us have truly wondered what God wants from us? It was more rhetorical. So, how many of us have truly wondered that? Because all of us are very clear what we want from God. God should do this, God should not do that. Even we have judgments about things like God should judge us harshly because I know something. But what is, if we still take ourselves to be separate and somebody, then have we really contemplated what is God's will? Who can tell me what is God's will? Everyone knows we must follow God's will. But what is this God's will? Okay, and before we get there, of course, confusing you is very important, but to set some context today, it's very important to highlight some of these things because when I say that really when we zero in and we see it's just a question of belief, then what happens in the rest of satsang is that all of those thoughts are getting defanged because those thoughts are full of self-interest. So if we can switch it around and make this life for God, then when the mind comes with offers which are always for the me in some way, even when it is saying it's about God, then those are not as attractive to us. See, we don't rush to grab them. And surrender is a beautiful antidote to the false identification as a personal me. So what is surrender means? I don't have will of my own. All is God's will. And to convert that fancy sounding line into simple language, it just is asking, what do I want? What do you want? What do you want? So that is self-will or self-desire. That is not being empty. Be empty is to. So then let's come to the question, what is God's will? Suppose, okay, I don't want anything. I don't even not wanting anything. I really don't want it. Truly empty. Not a new position now, I don't want anything. That's also wanting. So either wanting or not wanting is wanting. So now empty of those conceptual positions. How will we mean what God wants? There are two ways, and I'm going to try and say it simply. Either God will do it himself or he will say it to you. That's all. Empty of yourself, when you're dead to yourself, then God is organically moving through you. So obviously that is God's will. And if some intervention in the form of guidance is needed, you will hear your intuition speak to you, just like the words of your master you hear in the same way. And you recognize them very well because You can tell most of you have told me that when I hear your words, they seem to come from my heart. And if you don't know what your heart sounds like, you would not have been able to speak that to me. So don't buy the rubbish from your mind. Until it is heard in that way, keep coming to Satsang. And even after it's heard in that way, keep coming to Satsang till I tell you. That is to live in God's will. How difficult is it? Okay. It can seem difficult. You may not now, but it can seem difficult. So let's try to deconstruct that. Or enough for today, or what?
Yeah.
Little bit this part. What is the worst case scenario? Suppose you left it all to God's will. What is the worst that will happen? What will happen? You'll become a beggar on the streets. You'll become irresponsible. The world will call you a loser. Good for nothing loser, waste of space. Now, if you accept that all these things, all these judgments can and will come towards you, then what's the big deal? Is it really that bad? What are you afraid of? Because whatever you are afraid of is what the mind will use. The beautiful bhajan that I was heard from Garima, and then we heard it funnily enough in my village as we went to our prayer meeting for my father, where they said, whatever state Ram keeps you in, just be happy with that state. Who are we to determine that this is not right for me? And why do we call God God? If rightness or wrongness, goodness or badness was to be determined by us individually, then what have we left to God? Just to execute on our behalf? It's like, I have decided this is good. Now you go, God, go. Like this. Like that. The one who can do cannot determine. So it is in these determinations that we create the 1,000 hands to suffer from. Or that is the bite of the apple of the tree of knowledge. What do we really know that we can say this is better and this is worse? If we say, oh, today it's too warm inside, let's have satsang outside. Sounds better. How do you know we may not? There may be a lightning strike outside. We all die. So do we really have the capacity to know anything in this world which is so broad and unpredictable? And all we have is a little bit of inductive knowledge based on past experience. Can we really know? And yet, those who have reported from a place of letting go, from a place of surrender, their life is just such a beautiful parade. So who's the one? Who are the ones who are mistaken? You start to not worry about better and worse, what is right for you or wrong for you, how your life should play out or not. Accept that God, if it is God, you will accept that you will be a humble beggar on the street, but you will have God. Or you could be the king of the world if it is up to God. But it's not our business to pick, and nobody to determine which one is better. Your achievements count.
No, Father.
Yeah.
Um, so if we feel this, if we feel this guidance, and we choose to follow, and maybe a path clears, that is, a path opens, that is shown, and it's how do we know when we start? I guess there is a fear of identity creeping very, very easily. Something is being shown, and so I want to follow, but images come from what that might look like, and what it would be like for this one in that activity and stuff like that. And
Okay, let's take an example. Okay, so, and you tell me how it is heard versus I'll tell you how it is being said.
yeah,
If God wants you to be a beggar, then that is okay. Be a beggar. Now, why am I saying that? I'm saying that because your mind will scare you with the beggar thought. Let's say, you can't spend the whole day in God's presence. What if you don't do a bit of work also and you will become a good for nothing loser who will lose out on life and you will become a beggar? So I've already told you it's all right if you have to become a beggar, then become a beggar. So that thought is not hopefully as potent, is it? If you accepted that God can keep you in any state that God lies. That is the intent with which I'm saying it. I am aware that the mind will also use it the other way, saying, he wants you to become a beggar. See, he wants you to do that. So take some proactive steps towards that or something. That's not what I'm saying. Everything that I'm saying is allowing you to bypass or to let go of what your mind's offerings are so that you can rest in peace in the presence of the light within you. So my attempt always is deconstructive, is not constructive and conducive to creation of a new identity.
yes. And because we talk so much about that in Satsang, perhaps from Satsang or comes this this holding on to a message from Satsang that I want to avoid identity. So I hear this call. It's very, there's no, just I follow.
So suppose you didn't want to want at all.
I didn't want to want. Is that what you said?
Yes. Instead of not wanting identity or more identity or less identity, that you you don't want to want anymore.
Okay.
How would you do that? Let's provisionally say, although I don't like saying these things, just provisionally for now. Say that suppose the highest want is not to want. I don't like saying because I know people get stuck even there. So, but now we say, oh, I don't want identity, I don't want to get stuck, I want to keep progressing, or I want to be free, or whatever I want or don't want maybe. Suppose we say, I don't want to want anymore. How would you do that? Is it possible to be empty with the want?
Is it possible to enter with one?
We have a want,
No.
and then we just like, I want to be free, and therefore I have to be empty. Is that empty?
No.
This is very subtle. Okay? So we won't rush through it. So I don't want to be caught up in identity. I only want God. I only want the truth. Now I'm going to be empty so that that want happens the way I want it. Is that empty?
No.
And yet, isn't that what most of us do?
Yeah.
Empty is a way for us to get what we want now, rather than just empty, because we've been guided to be empty. And because the mind always, in spite of all its double speak at times, really wants us to be the king of the world. Like that famous song, everybody wants to rule the world. It's true. That's why no matter how much we get, it's not enough in any aspect of life. So, and the master is saying, accept the life of a beggar servant. It is just to neutralize that strong impulse from the mind, which will keep telling you to become something important or special. But if you're truly empty, then either king or beggar is meaningful. Neither of those mean anything at all to us.
And what is it like to follow God's calling without identity?
Yeah.
Like in our case.
So to be empty is to allow God's will to unfold and to trust the guidance which is received in the heart as God's will. Just to take the example of what you have experienced through this expression, which is to be in satsang.
Yes.
Can you imagine the absurd things that have come out of this mouth in 12 years in satsang? If there was self-desire, self-judgment, self-will, wanting to have an image a certain way, the sharing of satsang would be so difficult.
Yeah.
Sharing of this light would be so difficult if there was concern about these kind of things. It's actually the most natural because there's nothing to be done. The heart moves his mouth, moves the body as it feels to. So as it can play out in satsang, it can play out in the rest of life as well. Which is not to say that there are never a moment or two of identification in life here, and I feel in every master's life. There are bound to be moments. So you must never conclude that we've attained 100% mastery over the human condition or something like that. Do you find yourself inert when you are empty? Inert? Like, do you find yourself vegetative? Maybe sometimes, but not always. In fact, most of you will report that you find yourself more full of light, more full of aliveness, prana shakti, all of these things. Most of you will say like, but I'm not proposing them as benchmarks or something.
Before when you were starting to share, or before you started to give satsang, did you imagine that you would do that, or did you imagine what it would be like to share?
Mostly, I did not have that inclination or that sense or the idea that it was ever going to happen.
Mm.
Sometimes I just felt like everyone should listen to me. I have to admit that as well. So it wasn't that it wasn't like bad news that it was happening. Because I just felt like something was moving here to share this light in some way. But given the usual lazy characteristics of this expression, I never envisioned talking to so many people. But grace created the environment like that. And some of these kids started coming. Only few of them have survived the 12 years. I have barely survived myself. But
So there's this idea that if something is planned as regards a future in a certain activity, if there's planning or imagining, then that is not in accordance with satsang or something like this. You know?
Yeah, this is a myth actually, because I may say to you right now, Georgie, let's speak. I want to speak to you about your project or something. Can we speak tomorrow sometime? No, I'm not saying. Suppose it is possible to say like that. So is that planning?
Yeah.
So it's not possible. So then what should happen is there should be no like Friday 5 o'clock setup. There should be no, it's just like Wednesday, Friday. That's the mind's idea of a spontaneous life.
Yeah. Yeah.
The mind's notion of a spontaneous life. But the mind always loves to restrict what the heart can do. And you remember from your earlier question that earlier it would say, but the heart can't speak. Only the mind can speak. You see? But where does the mind derive its intelligence from? That same heart itself, that same spirit, the same consciousness. And say only the mind can plan. If you ever want to meet a master, then you just have to sit outside his door. And then somebody says, okay, I'm flying in from Argentina in March. Will I get to meet Father? Because tell you, yes, it looks like I'm not traveling those days. That would be that the heart cannot do. That only the mind can do. It's not true. So if the heart can so beautifully guide everyone to come to the light of God, then what you're saying that the words cannot also be linked to each other, no? Because that sounds like a plan. The planned sentence is happening. So it should just be like random. Blah, blah, blah. Of course, that is the best satsang anyway. So how far will we take it? In the sense that we can say to have a structure in language is also part of the plan. So let's break that also. So then the heart just is like, left without any mechanism to share the light. It is not true. In fact, many times things will unfold from here which make no sense. Make no sense. Something at work or something in satsang, say like that. And make no sense for tens of years sometimes. And then one day it unfolds in some way. Not that we have to impose that on God, that one day you have to make sense to us. If your heart is not planning, don't plan. Your heart is not planning, don't plan. If your heart is planning, plan. But don't fall into that trap, because you heard this from me many times. Don't fall into that trap saying that I don't plan. See? Because that is the plan. My plan is not to plan. It's the plan. Don't fall into that trap, because that is the mind's version of replicating spontaneity.
Yeah.
Haven't you seen spirituality, those who are not in satsang like this? Many times we can get into these kind of confusion, saying that I live in God's will, so I don't plan. I will never plan. I have given up on planning. Have you heard of a more solid plan than that? The strong determination behind that is a plan. What I will do and will not do is the plan. So I will not plan is the plan. So the mind always tries to replicate what is actually much more innocent and simple in the heart.
Is it true if I say that we can imagine ourselves performing these activities, and it can be from heart, just creating something, and in that case it would be valuable, or it could be projections of something that is complete ego. It can happen in both ways. Yes, is this true?
Yes. Everything outwardly can happen in both ways.
Yeah.
It's never about the outer action.
Yeah. So there is value in imagining or seeing something that might happen in the future, if that is clearly.
Yes, if it is heart inside, yes.
Yeah.
Like I said to Shivam many months back, I feel it'll be good if you're here in Bangalore. Because he's big trouble because of that. But
Can you imagine?
That is guidance from the heart. Like in the world, it sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
I could have also told him the same thing from my mind, saying, Shivam cooks great pasta. Nice food. That is more contaminated with the mind.
How was the pasta, Father?
No, the pasta is excellent.
It's a good added bonus anyway.
See the thing. So he made pasta for us one time. In cooking, he was not even allowed to come to Satsang. We were just making pasta. So the tip for any of you planning to come to India, if you're asked to cook, cook very badly. First time.
No problem there.
Yeah, no problem. If that is your plan.
Sending all my love to the Sangha there. Love them very much. So happy birthday to Mira, and so my love.
All of them are reciprocation, but I'm too lazy to turn the computer. You can imagine. This is good imagination. One good tip I have for all of you also is that anytime you find things getting complicated, just drop. Because the truth is not complicated. Is it like this or is it? Right, okay. None of your business. Because you're not going to be helped unless it is deconstructive. If you get a positive, constructive understanding, I'll only have to chop that down one day. So don't increase work for yourself and me. Yes, simplicity is easy. You don't understand this stuff. That's the only thing actually Guruji told me. So I kept saying, I don't know what to ask. I don't. He says, yeah, if you know, it messes everything up. That's all I remember him telling. If you know stuff, if you know, then it will only mess everything up. Hmm. Can we go to Kunal first? I've not heard from Kunal. Or if I have, it's been a while.
Hello, Father.
Okay.
Hello. I don't really know exactly what to say, but just as you were saying very beautifully, I just felt to show myself to you, and maybe you can see something about me that you would like to say.
What is the one thing that you feel like you want to transcend?
I have been feeling kind of lately, it feels like a darkness of my heart. I have done maybe what some people would call sinful things in my past. And I am struggling, I think, to find the light of God, because sometimes that darkness is still there. And I feel kind of trapped, Father. Sometimes I feel like I can't even access what you're saying because I'm too far gone.
Okay. Okay. I'm going to help you with this. And, let's go really slowly on this. The only way that if you were to have a concept of sin, the only way in which we can have it useful in the sense of the direct satsang we have is that sin is the error of going with our own judgments, which is the mind judgments, therefore living on our terms instead of surrendering to God or living in God's life. See, it's just an error, and that error is always rectifiable in the moment. It's always rectifiable. The instant you come to open and empty, you started to transcend the error of wanting to live life on your own terms, which is actually would have been fine, but there's no such thing as life on my own terms. It is either God's will or the mind's will. So that which we call my terms is just the error which most of humanity is making, which is to follow the mind for knowledge and guidance. So that's the only mistake or error which we can shorten and use the term sin. If you were going to use the term sin at all, that is what it is. Now, even if you were to take that to be true, what you have said, that you've committed some grave mistakes or really big mistakes, do we know that there is no hope? No. Because God is infinite in His ways. It's impossible for us to ever make a conclusion like that I'm too far gone from God's grace. Because then that would be to put a human limitation onto God. But God doesn't work like that. So trust that God's grace is immense and infinite. Your only job is to live in God's light, follow God's will. And if that seems very difficult, just be open and empty. That's your only job. And I have faith in my heart that my Father, with infinite grace and mercy, is waiting for you just to use the mistakes of the past to turn around and just live in God's light. There's no other solution needed to anything, whatever that may have happened. Let me know what you're finding now.
I don't know, Father.
Okay. So I want you to be reassured and not into any sort of disillusionment. And it's also good to recognize one's mistakes. So, but use that recognition to strengthen your inner resolve to be empty, to be in God's light. Because if you use that sort of determination to make yourself feel guilty and unworthy, that is further doing just the mind stuff. So this is the way the mind plays. It'll first tempt you into it, and then it'll make you feel guilty. So this is the 1-2 punch, and the 2 punch is usually the knockout one. So don't fall for any of that. You recognize that you went with your mind. Now it's not too late to change that. Don't identify. That's fine.
Thank you, Father. Thank you.
You're welcome. So welcome. And let me know how it is going over the next few weeks.
Okay.
Let's go to Niranjan.
Hello, Father. Can you hear me fine, Father?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Although your visuals are a bit flickery, but
I don't know what's happening with the visuals.
it's very psychedelic kaleidoscope.
Maybe. Nothing, just wanted to say hi, Father.
Hello, my dear. Very good. All my love, all my blessings, and hello. Continue in this beautiful way. Very good. You've been doing well? Well?
Oh, all well, Father.
Very good. My dear. Let's go to Jada.
Hi, Father. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
First of all, I want to thank you, Father, for really giving so much each time. Like people like me always, we are coming up, and with your full attention, you are always here for us. And for me, it's so touching. So thank you.
Also, I feel you have some good news.
Good news.
Give me some good news.
Yeah, I can give one good news. like, I don't know why, but my mind is not a good state. Good news will come. And it seems like I spent so much time there, and I don't know why. I don't know why. And it seems like the quit is very simple, actually. And the simplest thing for me is just to go to tomb or holy place, and it just takes everything from me. It just, I don't know.
Say this part again.
Sorry.
No, it was not so clear. The
Oh,
easiest
sorry.
way you start from there.
Yeah. So just to change something, I don't know, like going to holy places just comes so good to me. Like, it immediately cuts.
The minute she said cuts, it's got cut. Yeah, sure. The last we heard was cuts, and then it got cut.
I don't know why internet is like this. So
So I understood. I understood what you're saying. You're saying that the mind troubles you, but for you, you found a solution that you visit a holy place, and in that visit, then the mind's trouble or the belief or identity gets cut.
they just vanish. Yeah, I don't need to do anything about this at all. They just vanish. And I don't know. Like, good news is that they seem like nothing here, and it's like I cannot represent them to you, but I don't know why I'm like this recently. And it just goes into that much that I just want to die. And I'm with this thought, for some months now, like every day, thinking that, yeah, I want to die. And I'm
How
just
do you mean?
looking.
How do you mean?
Yeah.
Inwardly, you want to die to?
No, I just want to leave this world. And I don't know, it's not like something.
What is
Sometimes
what is the way out of this world?
just to leave this body, to leave this world, like leave everything.
How do you know? Suppose the instant you destroy this body, you're back in this world, or a worse one.
Father, it's not something suicidal, what I mean. Like, you said destroy this body. It's not what I mean. It's not something suicidal. I just want to die. I don't know, naturally. It's like I don't want to say even prayer, but yeah, I don't know. It's like this.
When you die, what will die?
My troubles.
Troubles will die. And what is causing the trouble? The world is?
We work together on this.
I like that answer. It's a collaborative teamwork.
Yeah, not just me, not just that.
Not just
Yeah.
the world, not just me, it's just a good teamwork happening.
So that it makes me think like I just want to die.
Suppose that in this team, one team member gave up on the trouble part, on the trouble creation part. You say, let's suppose what you say is to be true, although we were exploring in the beginning, it was quite different. But this is good. This is good enough for now. So you say, okay, now the world and I, we team up and we create trouble for myself. That seems to be a big job that we do together, and we accomplish it mostly successfully. So now suppose that the world's nature is like that. It will keep doing what it's doing. What if you stop collaborating with the world? Is it possible or no?
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. I'm not blaming you or saying anything. I'm just
No, just
you established. Maybe you were joking, and that's fine also. Don't worry. But if it was true what you said that you team up, what is your part in the team up? What is your role?
my role in what?
In this together, the activity together to make you suffer. So some part the world does, and another part you do. What is your part?
I don't know if I could understand you correctly. It's like how I contribute to
Yes,
create this problem. I'm unhappy.
you're unhappy, but that is
Yeah.
the outcome of it. No, how do you create that unhappiness?
I have so many ideas about how things has to be, and many of them collected and believed so deeply, and anything which does not going according to this just completely going me crazy.
Yes. So when we say that we want to die, if we were to live without being under the oppression of these ideas, then would we still need to die? If what could die is the oppression caused by these ideas, then what else is wrong with life that we need to die?
Yeah, there is another thing. Like I don't want to. I don't feel like I don't want to live anymore. I'm sorry, but this is the feeling. Like I don't know. I didn't left any hope, and it's not a depressive state. It's like I don't want to see anything to live. Like before, my love for Guruji, for you, it was like kind of hope, and it's just what connects me to life, and I can call it like hope. But recently, no love for anyone either. I'm not say emotional. I don't know. I don't feel any. I don't know in any point of continue to be or in life.
And this not wanting to continue or the determinations of there being love or no love, this is separate from the mind's ideas which you said earlier, or this is a new category, or it's the same category? Like, do you have this without an idea also? Like, do you have this without the idea also? That this is what's happening to me. This is what is happening to me right now. Without the idea, what's happening with you?
Without which idea?
Any, let's say any for now.
Still like it's not I want.
Idea. I can see
Okay.
you pick up an idea.
Then
No, no, no.
okay.
I will be able to tell when we've done this before. When you're speaking from your heart, I can tell. And you can tell actually. You can also tell, isn't it? You can smile if you want. It's allowed. Try to hold on for a bit. This is the beauty of what Papaji told us. To be happy, we don't need anything. To be unhappy, we definitely need at least one thing. And that one thing is what? An idea, at least one notion.
Father,
Hmm?
I don't know what I want from myself.
Empty. You're doing very well, don't you?
Okay, I can see, but
No, this is still the wrong guy.
yeah, because I want to take it guarantee that I won't go there again.
With that, it's the same guy.
Yeah, but because I'm coming, you don't allow me to speak.
Because you trouble yourself when you believe anything coming from your mind. It may feel like I'm troubling you by not doing that. But I just want to introduce you to the aspect of yourself which is not troubled. And if you don't give it time, then the mind will come back with its, oh, but this, oh, but that. And I've heard every, oh, but this and that from all of you over so long. I know it never helps you. It's just like the thief will never give up its address. The same way. What's wrong with staying in the heart?
Nothing wrong. It just does not bring the result which I was thinking that I want and I'm expecting.
It's not conforming to what your mind expects. You're right. And it's not meant to. It's not a genie for the mind to fulfill its wishes.
Yeah, this is where I go crazy.
No, your mind goes crazy. But if you leave it, you're fine.
Why does not God give anything then, Father? At least some sweets he can give.
He's giving your next heartbeat, no? Your next breath also. Oh no. That you can perceive this world as in whose light?
But I
Have you already
give them back to him then.
say
I'm saying I want to die. I can give all of them back to him.
but you don't know how to do that. If you think that doing something to this body or what, I don't know what, because you said it's not suicidal, but whatever your way of giving it back to him, you have no knowledge that that is really going to be the end of your perceiving of the world, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know.
Whereas I am telling you what is a key so that whatever, whether you are in this world or not in this world, whether the world is in you or not in you, you're fine if you live in your heart. This is always amazing to me because what happens is the mind will tell us, if I can't have what I want, then I don't want to live.
It's actually not so.
Then what?
The battle within me, I don't know why there is that much battle. It's not that I really want them. I'm happy with God, but at the same time, it's
No.
just
If you
there.
leave, but then tell me. You say, I'm happy with God. If when you say a but, it is saying that I'm not fully happy.
Yeah, I'm not.
What does God want? We're always so concerned about whether we are happy with God or not. Have you ever questioned what God wants?
From me or in general?
Okay, from you for now. What does God want from you? How can you meet that?
How can I?
Meet that, or how can you find that? How can this knowledge reveal itself to you in terms of what God wants? Because all of us have a report card for God. Oh yeah, I'm happy with God. Oh, I'm unhappy with God. Oh, we have a report card. But what does God want?
Nothing.
Do you know this?
He's happy by it.
I was asking whether you know this, and how do you know this?
How do I know this? I'm just seeing his light. It's apparent now. Self-effulgence.
Very good, very good. So, as his light is apparent, are you also there?
A separate one also, I'm there, yes.
Like which one? Where is that one? Where is the separate one?
Not
Literally
some.
asking, like very, very literally, this like where is the separate one?
Not somewhere. It's like some kind of state which is like this.
That
Which
state is you.
I'm holding on.
That state is you.
No, I'm holding on to, which I don't leave.
How are you holding it? With which hands?
Not as hands. It's like I feel it.
You're holding on to a feeling.
No, I feel I give life to that one.
Yes, with what? With what tool? With what instrument do you give life? How do you hold on to it? This brings us back to where we started in Satsang today, saying even with attention, can we hold on to it? If our attention is fully with the perception. are we holding on to it? It's not possible. You identified the culprit correctly initially, where you said that. You hold on to the false because you bind to the ideas which the mind offers you. And in that way, you hold on to it. But without that, you're just fine. And the mind has a big problem with you being just fine. Because the troubled one is its servant. The troubled one serves the mind. The untroubled one is in service to God. Is everything that you want worth all this trouble? That you don't even want to live?
You know why I want these things? Because I just want to be with God. I think that if I have them, then nothing will trouble my being with God. I mean, again, I want them for God, not for myself.
Okay, good. So you can hear two voices which will both try to guide you to God. Hmm? Your mind will give you ideas about wanting and becoming better and being with God and being untroubled. And your intuitive voice will guide you, your Sadguru presence will guide you. Which one are you following?
Mind.
That's not the right one.
But I will continue to do.
Continue to follow the mind. What is the reasoning behind that?
And
Anger.
yeah,
So what will what will you achieve with that? How will your anger be justified or satisfied by troubling yourself only? I see how it is. Okay, I understand. It's like the child who says, I will not eat my lunch, I will not eat dinner, because you don't uh, fulfill what I want, no, to the parent. Is it like that? But even that, in that, you are actually counting on the fact that God loves you. So that if you trouble yourself, then God, because God loves you, then God will be affected by that. And um, so that is like a child will behave with their parents, but a child will not behave with a policeman like that. See, you can count on God's love for you, but you have to count it with light more and more. Not by getting into this childlike defiance and all this, because you're only troubling yourself. Okay. I feel like my body is starting to wind down because antibiotics and things like this. We'll end here. And we'll pick it up soon. Thank you all so much for being in Satsang today. Sadhguru Sri Muji Baba ki Jai. Guru Kripa Keva.